This is Marjorie Taylor Greene is on Newsmax talking about Maxine Nancy and the BLM army. Yeah, that's right, the Black Lives Matter activist army that's going to, that even though the general public thinks that Black Lives Matter is an argument for the worth of Black lives, that's not really what it's about. It goes into this democracy is a politically correct word that's used by leftists to try and install terrorism, tyranny by terrorism. But the BLM army must be fought. Which is, if you don't know what the BLM army is, you have to watch. Obviously we saw the seeds of it in early Janet Jackson videos.
Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, she's introduced a resolution in the House.
Yipes. Do we need to do that?
To expel Congresswoman Maxine Waters for comments that Waters made asking protesters and rioters to get confrontational if a guilty verdict in the Floyd trial.
By the way, cool. Will you and Lauren Boebert both be expelled at the same time, and can you hold the door for her as you all three leave? How about that? I would totally bounce the two of you so that Maxine Waters could retire.
Trial was not reached. Congresswoman, thank you so much for the time.
She's got plenty. She's not on any committees. She doesn't have any. She's not writing any bills. The Cracker Caucus fell apart.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for having me on.
Why are they censoring MTG? Right.
Sure, yeah. So before we get to that, President Biden and Maxine Waters are two of the biggest names who have weighed in on this trial, indicating that they wanted a guilty verdict, which is...
Along with the vast majority of Americans and nearly every Fox News host. I can't speak for Tucker, but I think for the last year, they've all been giving themselves "I'm not racist" points by going, well, at least I saw what was wrong with the George Floyd situation. We are all horrified at that. Everybody else, but, you can tell I'm not,
It's completely inappropriate, and they got it. And do you think there's any way...
They got it. They got it. That's interesting. They got it. So I'm supposed to take away that Rob Schmidt here does not feel that verdict is for his team. That they got it, he did not. That Marjorie Taylor Greene did not get the verdict they wanted in the Chauvin trial. Is there another takeaway? I don't think so.
My first question, do you think there's any way the jury was not impacted by comments from Democrats and also by intimidation of violence from these left-wing groups like BLM and Antifa?
Well, obviously the first one would be, did you personally believe that Derek Chauvin murdered George Floyd? What were your feelings when you watched the video? Do they vary from what the rest of the people we are accusing of manipulating the trial, or is this just common sense, which we're always patting ourselves on the back for?
Absolutely not. I think the jury was intimidated. You had a United States Congresswoman come to Minnesota and basically threaten there would be more confrontation.
I'm sorry. January 6th insurrectionist leader says what?
If the jury did not deliver the verdict she wanted, which was guilty, that is intimidation. And after the riots we've seen for the past year, burning cities, looting businesses, attacking and even killing.
Why is Newsmax showing video of someone giving the finger? This is right awful. And by the way, when is Antifa going to know to cover their faces entirely? It's almost as if these are people who just genuinely felt that something wrong had happened and were there.
Innocent people like David Dorn attacking police officers, federal monuments and buildings. There's no way a jury would be able to deliver any verdict other than guilty after all of this intimidation.
Sorry, have there not, since the Rodney King trial, is this just like we live in the OJ world where Black people are just not convicted anymore, according to Marjorie Taylor Greene, simply because everybody's afraid of the Rodney King riots? Is that where we're going?
Maxine Waters.
Yeah, and Trump was basically directing, the legal system to rule his way all the time.
Stood there and said, "Stay in the streets, get more confrontational." That was a direct threat. And also she was delivering, basically telling the BLM army.
The BLM army. And by the way, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say if there is a BLM army, the band probably kicks ass, especially in Minnesota. I'm just saying there have to be members of the revolution just hanging around.
This is what you're going to do and make sure that this guilty verdict happens.
I
totally agree. Poor Derek Chauvin. Are you guys going to kick in for his appeal?
I agree. We watched it happen. This has been an unbelievable moment with...
Unbelievable. Actually, it's been completely fucking believable. How many times do you have to watch that before you were like, what the hell is that guy doing? You know, because we all watched, the first time you saw it was 9 minutes. And this is not one of those videos where they show the moment of the altercation starts and then something awful happens. You're like, oh my God, I'm so horrified. And then you find out they show you the 20 minutes leading up to it and you're like, oh, this was bullshit. I'm being manipulated. This isn't one of those situations. Like all fucking 9 minutes. There's all the other footage. Him being arrested, him sitting down, them putting him in the car, them taking him out, them kneeling on him for 9 minutes. Him dying 6 minutes into that, the EMT showing up and going, this guy's dead. How many times? I mean, they played it over and over and over in the trial. Everybody saw it. It was all over social media. Like, you couldn't not see it. And apparently, no pun intended, they did not see what you and I saw. And these two apparently have been able to watch this as much as anybody else, but are just baffled that anyone would, under normal circumstances, go, no, yeah, that's fucked up.
With this case and with this trial.
They did not see what I saw, right?
And I think there's definitely room for an appeal here.
Oh, is there? There's room for appeal. Based on Maxine Waters' statements. I mean... they are adorable, these little ones, you know. They get the tightened shirts on, and the nice little epaulets and this kind of thing, and they walk through the streets in the little knickers and the pulled up stockings and the tight little shoes, and they're wearing the little caps, and they're just so adorable, these ones, you know.
I want to get your reaction to comments that were made by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi earlier today, right after the verdict.
Right after. You know, I hate when people intimidate me after something is... Is Nazi an actual game? Nazi! And it's got a little dice dome. I got 3 6s again. This sucks.
Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice. Because of you, and because of thousands, millions of people around the world who came out for justice, your name will always be synonymous with justice.
So thank
you. Yeah. See, she's Catholic, and the essence of religious people, and I understand how the Republicans might be confused about this. They may not know sort of the essence of Christianity or any of the great religions, that there is a purpose to one's life, and that through God's grace and the theory of the Catholic Church and the Christian Church, that you can find the purpose of a person's life in their death as well, and that they live on. And that their spirit, although their body has died, their spirit lives, and you can speak to them through prayer or exaltation, and you can say to them, you gave your life so that the rest of us could recognize that something was wrong. Something was wrong with us. You taught us this lesson through your sacrifice. But since these people, I guess assuming, I don't know either one of them personally, but it seems from their speech that they do not recognize a higher power or a life beyond this one or a common deity or anything regarding, I don't know, that Judeo-Christian stuff that I've heard some people refer to, that this man and this woman don't believe in that, think it's a bunch of bullshit. And as Darwinists, they're like, there is no worth to his life or his death, you know.
Thank you, George, for dying. I thought that was very bizarre. A lot of people on Twitter are noticing it's starting to go around. It's just one of the weirder things we heard today.
But, you know, now that you brought on Marjorie Taylor Greene, you can kind of top that.
What's your reaction?
I think I find it appalling and disgusting. I just watched a white woman thank a black man for dying so that they can achieve the policies they want. Policies.
Oh, it's a policy. Guys, racial justice is a policy. That's great. I hope when they're pushing their policy, we all get racial justice keychains and we I don't know, is there a racial justice tax they're going to put forward?
Just defund the police. I find that extremely disturbing. Very disturbing. We think our military.
Okay, that tears it. How's Twitter page? Definitely not offensive. Bullshit is happening. What?
Men and women for their service to our country, for defending our freedoms. But this man died. He in no
thanks. Yay.
way went out there to die so that Democrats.
Yeah, that's not. They didn't go out there to die. That's not the point. I mean, obviously, we're watching someone try to hammer a square peg into a round hole. So let's watch this.
Democrats, BLM, Antifa, Maxine Waters, and anyone else could have their way with the attacks on the police and the defund the police.
So they could have their way. So basically, you have to grasp this, and this is very difficult, but these two assholes think that Derek Chauvin's guilty plea is not the result of his actions and the crimes he obviously committed. And you know how they're always throwing around common sense, and for some reason that just goes out the window? 9 fucking minutes, right? These two are saying that Derek Chauvin's guilty plea is not reflective of what he actually deserves as far as punishment, but it's part of the Democrats' attacks on police and defunding the police. I mean, I know we're hearing them say this, but you have to understand, this is the perspective that not just her. I mean, we know she's a lunatic. She's a straight up Q. But this asshole, Rob Schmidt Tonight is the name of his show. I mean, he's probably like this every day. They wake up and walk through the world looking through these eyes. They believe this, and it informs what they see. I don't think I can't do it, and I would be astounded if anybody watching this can even fathom what it's like to walk through life genuinely seeing through that. I mean, no one can see through another person's eyes fully, but we can kind of generally understand that we all know what the color green is, for example, or we all know what up means in terms of sky and ground, those kind of baselines. But these folks are forever in dark water, and without the brains to blow bubbles and follow them to the surface. I'm honest to God. Think about this. Can you imagine looking at the Chauvin verdict and seeing an attack on police from Antifa?
Police movement. I'm not sure what Nancy Pelosi was trying to do there, but I find it pretty appalling and disturbing.
Satanic panic is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, it
was
a very bizarre statement. And again, a lot of these people making a lot of noise over this don't seem to care when countless African-American young guys are killed every weekend in major cities all across this country.
Sure they do. We're trying to deal with it with gun dumping, trying to deal with it in terms of stopping the school-to-prison pipeline, racial disparities so that people can have opportunities where they don't get sucked into like gangs or surrounded by gangs, where they end up dying in drive-bys and the like. There's 5 solutions to that problem. But police are paid for with our tax dollars. We have more of a say in their lives than we do in the free movement of individuals who may commit crimes. This is the same bullshit they do with schools. Like, we're like, can we pay teachers? Can we make sure the schools are good? Can we make sure there's no lead in the water or in the paint? Can we provide enough materials for the children so that every school kid, no matter where they live, has access to the same books and materials and musical instruments and that kind of shit so that they actually have an equal education? And these assholes go, what about parental involvement? Like, well, asshole, I can't make someone be a good parent. But I can make sure that when the kid shows up at school, he's got access to the same meals, the same nutritional quality as a baseline at least that they may not get at home. This is, God.
But this case, they certainly paid attention to. You did actually introduce a resolution to expel Maxine Waters. It reads in part, what's more confrontational than burning cities for almost a year? This is nothing new from...
Well, I mean, attacking the Capitol. Because they weren't burning cities. They didn't burn cities. We have not lost a city. We haven't. We lost a couple of targets along the way and some businesses. And, you know, Portland's adorable. But I would argue that attacking actual, and here's, I'm sorry, Glenn, I have to use this word, the seat of our democracy might be, because, I mean, you could burn Portland to the ground and it still wouldn't wipe out the United States. But if you manage to sneak some bombs in or kill everybody in the Capitol, you might actually scuttle our system of government entirely.
From Maxine Waters, she has been inciting violence and terrorism for the last 29 years. In regards to those comments,
well, just because you're afraid of a black lady doesn't mean she's inciting violence and terrorism. I mean, just because you're like, oh God. Thank you, Aggie. Anglo-Saxons are marrying their cousin through generations. Well, enough about the royal family.
She made. Now, most of the time, you know, you put a resolution up like this. A lot of the times, it's just theater. It doesn't really go anywhere. What do you actually expect to happen on this one?
It's just theater. It's not going to go anywhere.
Well, you know, you have to remember, I'm the most attacked Congresswoman probably in history.
No, you are not. She is not the most attacked Congresswoman in history. She is, I'm guessing, I'm probably going to go with the most attacked Congresswoman in history would probably be the first ever Congresswoman, considering. But what she is the most, you know, the currently most criticized, she and probably Lauren Boebert, you know, jockey for these positions, the most criticized. She's not attacked. She hasn't been attacked. She says something and people respond to it. That's not an attack.
I've been kicked off of my committees. The Democrats introduced a resolution.
Why'd you get kicked off your committees? Why'd that happen? Really? Guys, did you know that you've been kicked off your committee? What did you do to get kicked off your committees? Huh? What was it?
To expel me, yet the Democrats can't file one single ethics charge against me because I've done nothing wrong. We
don't have any ethics. And you haven't done anything at all. You just talk. So like an ethics charge would be like, well, we found out you were misspending campaign funds or stuff like that. You're just being awful.
To attack me because they don't like me and they don't like the fact that I won't back down.
No, those aren't the reasons at all. I think that you're fomenting anti-vaxxer theories and QAnon conspiracies and basically saying that that if you get the vaccine, you have the mark of the beast. That kind of shit. It has nothing to do with whether we like you. I'm sure you're a hell of you're a party at karaoke night.
I'm also part of the 117th Congress that voted to impeach President Trump after he said to march peacefully to the Capitol.
Yeah, and then once you get down there, if they're not doing what you want, you're going to have to show them. Yeah, the peaceful part was the march. Peacefully and patriotically march down there, but that's not how we're going to act when we get there, is the underlying message because of all the other shit he said. But let's pretend.
So I introduced this resolution.
The peaceful and patriotic marching bill of 2021.
Waters, because she is a danger to our society.
She's a danger to our society.
To the streets in a state she doesn't even live in. She gave the orders to the BLM domestic terrorist army.
She gave the orders to the BLM terrorist army. And apparently she's not much of a general because they didn't do it.
Told them to get more confrontational, Roger. Which we can't comprehend what more confrontational even means.
Well, sure, because those people, they're activists, not rioters. So, you know, it lines up with more vigilance, I suppose.
So I introduced this resolution to expel her because I believe things need to be done differently in Congress. I believe people need to be held accountable. And
did she say fight a bunch of times? I forget.
I believe if a Congress can vote to impeach President Trump, then they certainly should be able to vote to impeach or to expel Maxine Waters.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if anything, it's because she put her thumb on the scale in the Chauvin trial, and that's really just so that they can get this kind of left-wing, radical, democratic, anti-cop thing through.
House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy introduced a resolution to censure Waters. Again, this was mostly theater. It was defeated along.
Mostly theater. So if the House Minority Leader was unable to even get a censure passed, you individually expelling it, I see.
Party lines this afternoon. Why are Waters' comments okay, do you think, with Democrats? But like you just said, Trump asking a crowd to peacefully and patriotically march to the Capitol is considered inciting an insurrection.
Yeah, but march down there, and then if they don't do what you want, stop the steal. Stop it. Actually go up and stop it, which they did. Because they didn't riot on their way. They didn't pull any trees out. They didn't, as far as I know, they didn't shit in the water features. They didn't, turn over any cop cars. They peacefully and patriotically marched down there. Once they got there, however,
yet they're okay with what Maxine Waters said, and I think a big part of that is that.
And by the way, I'm not. I mean, you don't call it you don't ratchet up confrontation, you don't make it more violent, and you pick your language much more carefully. Do I think she meant go set fire to cop cars? Of course not. Do I think Trump actually meant storm the Capitol? Kind of do, actually. Considering how he was when he watched it.
They just know how to stick together, don't they?
They know how to stick together, but...
Yeah, that's the problem. The Democrats really can stick together. That's the thing about, communist revolutionaries. Everyone's a comrade, am I right? But, the Republicans are just...
They also have no morals and no ethics.
No morals and no ethics. So wanting Derek Chauvin, I see. So wanting Derek Chauvin convicted on all 3 counts is an immoral choice because he did nothing wrong. All right, I see. I guess that's where they...
The rules do not apply.
The rules do not apply? Well, then why are they voting on stuff? Why don't they just sign stuff into law and just throw it on the desk and give it to Biden? And why?
You see, the Democrats operate by a different playbook.
Oh, good. All right. Well, it's a platform, really, but... And
their playbook is do anything they want to do and anything possible to achieve their agenda.
All right. Wow. I had no idea we had so much free reign. Do anything. I don't even know why. Then if that argument is true, then why did Maxine Waters even bother to use, the word, confrontational? Why would she even bother to pussy? Why don't you just go burn cop cars, set fire to Target, and if you don't do what we want, we're gonna burn every Walmart to the ground. Every cowboy boot store from here to New Mexico is gonna burn to the ground if you don't give us, I guess what, Medicare for all? What are you talking about?
And I think we as Republicans in Congress...
I need a Horse Winnie soundtrack to play every time she appears. Easy.
We have to stand up and we have to work harder. We have to get...
Just for the Frau Bruche part of it?
Tough. And then we have to make sure that we're able to hold them accountable. Otherwise, what we're seeing in this nation is BLM may in fact be the most powerful domestic terrorist organization in this country.
Well, I mean, this is kind of like it's like saying you're the world's tallest short guy.
Because as we've seen today, and as we've seen the past year, there's...
I'm not entirely sure this isn't just a live music video shoot. Look at this bonfire. They're burning I don't know, is that a coals?
Certainly able to achieve their goals, and they aren't just people in the streets. It goes all the way...
Oh, they're burning the Minneapolis Police Department. Oh, I see, after Chauvin knelt on a guy's neck for 9 minutes, and then before he was charged. So they were forced into doing it. I mean, they didn't want to.
Up into our government, like Maxine Waters, a United States Congresswoman, Nancy Pelosi, who rubber stamped everything Maxine Waters says, and perhaps to the White House with...
She rubber stamps everything Maxine Waters says. She must be exhausted.
President Joe Biden himself.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I can't find a single thing wrong in anything that you said, and that's why we had you on.
BLM is a political organization, and they do not care about black lives. I think we all can agree on that.
Oh, can we? Who's we all? Oh, I mean, we all. He means her and the people who work at Newsmax. I thought he meant we all, like actual humans.
They are a political organization, and they're wielding quite a bit of power right now, and they've got Democrats wrapped around their finger. That is the truth. Congresswoman.
Which finger? I just need to know.
Marjorie Taylor Greene of the state of Georgia, thank you so much for the time.
You're welcome. The world is burning, and black people are going to destroy everything that we have fought so Anglo-Saxonly for. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
You just watched Newsmax.
Yeah, I know, and we're all worse for it.